So Scotty, when I caught up with you in Myrtle Beach a couple months ago, I made a little mini doc, a Nosy Beagle interview of you. I kind of screwed it up because I put too much music over the talking and I put too much other stuff in there. So I'm going to make this like a little addendum or a part 2 and just put you on the spot, if you don't mind, and ask you, what would you like to add to that if you can remember it?
I don't remember what we talked about.
Well,
Your Nosy Beagle videos, I thought they were actually made by the Beagle now.
Well,
the Beagle's like the star. I just thought you were like the grunt. You were like just supposed to do what the Beagle says. You know, hey, put some gas in the motorcycle.
Yeah. She's a director. I'm just the cameraman. But yeah, you know, Scotty, I've got, you know, a few people that watch my videos, and the video I made of you got the most views. I mean, it's like
Really?
it's like 7,500, and it still keeps climbing. So people are interested, you know, in that. So I think I kind of missed out on an opportunity to just hear generally about why you why you live out here on the road. And you told me something one time that always stuck in my head. You said you feel like you have no choice but to kind of live out here on the road. Do you remember that? What do you mean by that?
Whenever I try to settle down, guys have asked me once in a while if I want to settle down. And I'm like, I've tried it a few times. I felt like I needed to change. And the problem is I get bored. And you're going to have to cut this because I got to think about what I'm saying.
Sure.
Get it for positive. So every time I've tried settling down, the problem is I get too bored. I get bored with it. And, you know, it's kind of a routine, same thing every day. And it's too hard. It's a hard life. Normal life for me is a hard life. I mean, you know, I stayed with Tony Girl out there in Texas for 3 months in a big house. And every day we set out to get things to hold the empire together, be it money or fixing something or...
That house was always screaming at you to fix something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All houses
the
do.
Filter always needed to be clean. There was always. So every day we went out to maintain the empire. This empire's a lot easier. But I get guys that talk to me that want to hit the road. And there's a lot of guys who want to live on their bikes these days. I was talking to one yesterday. He's an older guy. I told him the trick is what I think one of the things is to keep trying to figure out ways to make it easier. Anything you can do, you know, that you can do differently than you've been doing it to make the thing easier, whether it's less miles in a day, whether it's a better camp, or, you know, making yourself more comfortable, or whatever it is for you. Because just traveling and sleeping on picnic benches in a park and on that kind of thing is cool, even for a summer, for a few months. But as a way of life, it ain't. So everything you can do to make it as easy as possible. I use 100 tricks. I carry a lot of house because I keep a comfortable home. I don't know if you've been around. I mean, we've got a rainy day, so we're just kind of hanging out here. It's in between rain. So yeah, I get bored. Boy, I get bored. And it's too hard. It's just too hard. This is a much easier life once you get the bugs worked out of it. You know?
You can kind of stay on top of it, right? Like it's, you know, things that need to be maintained and fixed and so forth. It's like, you simplified it down to where you can kind of stay on top of your empire.
It's less stuff, yeah. When I had a 3-bedroom house, 2 cars and a truck. I owned a business, furniture, dog, cats, washing machine, etc. And every day I set out to do things for that house all the time. It was like a constant. Every day going to work to get money to pay for all this stuff. Then on the weekends doing the work around the house that I couldn't do during the week, man. Doing the laundry, vacuuming the rug, you know, all that stuff. And it was like, this is a much easier empire to hold together. So I haven't heard an alarm clock. You know what I mean? And you get up and you're like, well, if you're not working full time, you don't tend to know what day of the week it is.
Yeah, I do that too.
You lose track of that easily. Yeah.
I have to ask all the time.
Yeah. See, but you know, but I work, man. I work hard at the jobs I work at. I just don't have to work at them that often anymore. You know?
Yeah.
And now the video thing's starting to pay some. And I don't need a fortune to live on. So you know how it is. Simplified living's just easier.
Yep.
I found when I had all that stuff, I found that it was like a scale. A lot of people love this little piece of philosophy I made up, but I found it's like a scale. On one side you have stuff, and the other side you have freedom. And the more you put in one, the more you give up of the other. There's no gain; it's a trade. And so, I mean, I'm a little extreme on one end, you know, but it's adjustable for the individual. There's lots of gray area, but only a blind man will believe he's going to have both. My rich friends, I have friends that are rich, and they tell me their stuff owns them. They're constantly out trying to hold their empire together. I don't know about a billionaire or something, you know, but I don't have any billionaire friends, but I have very wealthy friends.
You know, I've had this idea for a long time that that's what really drives people to want to make a lot of money and be rich, is that they want both security and freedom. And I'm not sure if those two things can ever exist in the same life.
Maybe for somebody, but I have not seen it. Certainly not for myself. So I just adjusted it the other way. Once you have so much stuff, you can't go ride your Sea-Doos. You don't have time. You know, I've had friends that haul ass out to the river, have fun really fast, and haul ass back. You know.
Weekend warriors.
Yeah, and the thing is, I was reading a book recently, and this girl studied under a guru. And there's one part I liked, which just rang a bell with me, which maybe is stupid. But the guru said, all roads lead to nowhere. And it's true. You all ended up in a box or an urn in this country, right? Like, I'm going to die, and then a few years after I die, everybody that knew me is going to die, and I'm going to be completely forgotten. Whatever I did in this planet's going to be completely wiped out. Nobody's going to remember it. So all roads lead to nowhere. So whether you're in a hurry to get there or you just stroll along the road, you know, it takes the same amount of time, and who cares what you did? In the end, if you enjoyed yourself, I think, in the end, if I find myself on my deathbed, and I know I'm going to go out, you know, and I look back over my life, I think there's only one question that really matters, man, and that is, did you enjoy yourself more often than you didn't? You know what I'm saying? If you can answer yes to that, who cares what you did? Whether you were a gypsy drifter, or you raised a family, or you built an empire, who cares? Yeah,
as long as you don't hurt people as you go through your life, you know.
This is something I had to learn a long time ago. I actually had to learn it from other people because I didn't figure this one out for myself. Is that when I hurt other people, I hurt. When I try to create hell on earth, you know, a lot of us create our own problems, create our own hell. A lot of a man's problems are self-made, probably the majority. But when I hurt other people, it's a cosmic law, man. I hurt. Initially, I hurt. And when I do the opposite, I get the opposite. So I don't know that you can go around, you know, being a tyrant and feeling good about yourself. So there is that. I'm with you on that one. A lot of the great worth in this life comes from interaction with other people, man. Being able to be close with them, and I'm not the best at it. You know, not all. Probably most of the people I know, you know, fight with that one. We all need each other. We're social creatures.
Yeah, Scotty, here's another thing I'll mention briefly. I think a lot of people have this misconception, which I did, you know, for a long time, which is if you go out and you're a drifter and you're a nomad, that it'll be a really lonely existence. But what I've noticed is you're an example of how that's not really the case, because you interact with a wide variety of people all the time, more than I would say people live conventional lives. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but that's not the way it started. When I hit the road back in '95, when I hit it for full time, I mean, I traveled during the summers for 4 years before that, coming back to San Diego. But when I hit the road full time, it was not that way. We did not have cell phones.
Sorry. Okay. Scotty, so I just had to do some adjustments on my phone. Please continue.
You cut that out, man. You cut that part out. So I think of the things that mess guys up out here, loneliness is one of the biggest ones. And we didn't have cell phones. I was alone completely. Nobody knew where I was. Nobody to follow. A lot of these guys out here use Facebook. They get a lot of people following them, invite them to their house. Facebook's best when it becomes face-to-Facebook. You meet a lot of people. You can meet people. So we have all that now. But so I think loneliness is one of the main things. I've watched it drive guys home many times. And but the thing was once I simplified my life and got rid of my big, huge house and all of my stuff, and only kept what I actually used, and I moved into a little trailer that I parked on a friend's property in San Diego for $150 a month. This gave me the ability, a lot of free time, because I didn't have to work constantly. So I began taking trips, and the trips got longer and longer. I started hating coming home. I started hating being home. When I got home, I just wanted to leave. So the thing was I couldn't go back. When I went home, I was miserable. So I've spent a lot of time being too lonely. And I did not have the greatest social skills. But I remember being so lonely that it forced me. I was absolutely forced to have to improve these social skills, which I remember at the time thinking, this is fortunate. It's fortunate that I'm being forced to have to change this. I mean, a lot of us have this problem. I'm not alone, not knowing we need each other, but not knowing how to get with each other. And so we suffer from it. So I remember being so lonely in Palm Springs one winter. They have a street there that, has the fudge shops and ice cream shops and the bars and the coffee shops on it. And I would walk up to somebody, or I'd be with somebody there. I'd meet somebody, and I would just start talking to them like I already knew them. I'd start talking to them like they were an old friend. And I still do that. And what I found was I got a great result from that. Most people want to have friends. And so they're like, oh, this guy wants to know me. And so they go with it. And then I would go to a bar, and I would allow myself, I'd say, look, I began to have to go into social situations because I was not real comfortable in them, and allow myself to be uncomfortable until I became comfortable. So I'd go into a bar to watch a band, and I'd think to myself, well, if I just watch this band and go home, fine. That'll be fine. No expectations. But generally, you end up meeting somebody. People come there to socialize. A lot of these people have much better social skills than me. And I would hang out with them and watch what they're doing and start picking up on some of it. But what I've noted is that all the guys who've been out here for years, if they didn't start with really good social skills, they are, over time, they hone their social skills to the absolute best of personal ability. Because one of the things guys don't think about out here, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to hit the road, I'm going to see the world, I'm going to live the dream. And, that's the idea a person generally starts with. I have. But some of the realities are not that. Person doesn't think, well, I'm going to be in new towns all the time where I don't know anybody. You know what I mean? I'm going to be alone in new towns where I don't know anybody all the time. So you have to learn to meet people quickly. And I don't keep traveling all the time. I haven't for many years. In the early years, I did some of the high mileage rides, like a lot of these new guys do, high mileage years, where I was everywhere all the time. But I get tired. I get really sick of only knowing somebody that for 20 minutes in a gas station that I met. There's no old friends. It was too much. And I don't want to travel like that all the time. Once you've seen enough of the scenery, you're like, for me, it became more about the people I meet and the adventures I'm going to have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stay in places. I have the ability to go to pretty much any town and hook myself up there. I'll find a good place to make my camp. I'll hook up with their rec center or their gym, be able to get my showers. And the places to socialize, and I can make it my own home easily, actually. It used to take me 3 days to wire up a town, what I call it. Just get where I was going to stay, where I was going to get clean, where I was going to socialize. Now I usually get it in a day. I usually find all that in a day. And then if I stay there a week or so, people begin to know me by name. I'm walking down the street and guys are like, hey, Scott. So I'll stay for 2 weeks, 6 weeks sometimes. I used to stay up to 2 months, but I rarely do that anymore. I get itchy feet, man. Because you know what it's like, Brenton? Living on the road like this is like, it's like that show Quantum Leap. You guys ever seen that show?
Yeah, I remember that show.
Bouncing into other worlds all the time?
Yep.
That's a takeoff on the old show, which was The Time Tunnel. It's the same movie. Anyways, so you're constantly bouncing into different realities. I might be down in Baja hanging with all the retired people and the Mexicans that live down there. Next thing you know, I'm in the Keys. Or I'm in the mountains. And there's all these people that live there. And if I come back, they all still live there. Mm-hmm. So I do old places every year that I'm familiar with, and I try to add some new ones. Mm-hmm. Add new ones there, new places every year too. I've been riding along and just found a town. I'm like, I really like this town. I think I'm just going to stay and just stay there for a while. But some of the other guys Panhead Billy especially, what he does about all that loneliness stuff a lot, he goes to events constantly. Because if I come to a town, I pull into Billings, Montana, people are working, they're doing their normal lives. I'm sitting here, what am I going to do? Twiddle my thumbs for weeks? And it's one of the things I see send guys home, is they got a lot of time and no real purpose. Okay, so they'll come to a town and people are doing their normal lives, and so they're like, nothing going on here, man, let's go to the next town. Then they go to the next town, nothing going on here, let's go to the next town, the next town, the next town, the next one's home, finally. It gets hard, it's really hard. But if I go to an event, because people are doing their regular lives, they're going to work, they're coming home, they're having dinner. But if I've become pretty good at staying in those situations. But like Panhead Billy, he goes to events all the time. He always knows where the action is. And he didn't even use the internet. I don't know how he finds that. But if I go to an event, people have come with an entirely different attitude. They've come to let their hair down. They've come to have some fun. Maybe they've come looking for romance. They've come looking to make some friends. So that helps a lot. Chip told me that he was getting really on the edge with this until he started working at the rallies. He said, and that changed it for him. Well, you see, we have all of us here. We're all camped together. We have jobs, people, friends. A lot of people, you see a lot of the same faces.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way to do it.
And show people we're out here in the state forest in the Black Hills, and you'll see some camps out there in the trees, and yeah, it's all free. You can stay here for free. You've been here for several years, haven't you? When you're working the rally?
I've been coming here for years. I tried staying in town, but it's just too noisy. I like it out here. I've been offered a room. They told me, well, we rented a house. We got a room. You can come stay, and they've got a washing machine, and it's a really good offer. I should stay with people more, but I've been in camp so long that camp feels like home.
Yeah.
When I go to somebody's house, I feel like I'm staying at their house.
Well, you camp in their backyard a lot of times, don't you?
But you're still at somebody's house.
Yeah.
You know, we can stay up there at the Hess Ranch or whatever, but you're still at their house, and I like coming home. I've always liked having
Yeah, everyone wants to have their own space, for sure.
I do. I like having it. Some are more communal. Joe Sparrow has a tendency to stay with people more often than not. You know, he's been out here about 12 years, I think. So it's individual. Thing about Chip.
So, just I haven't said this for my video, is Peter is a friend of Scooter Tramp's. He catches up with him once in a while. He lives in the Seattle area, and he's originally from Poland. You'll probably hear it in his accent. And he was asking...
he does still talk funny. 25 years here, and he talks
I was going to say that. I thought, I knew he was from somewhere else. So, Peter, you're asking Scooter Tramp a question, though.
Skip my accent for the chicks.
For the chicks. I bet that helps.
I was just asking Scotty, what about Chip?
You were asking me
I was asking how it changed.
How the rallies changed it?
Yeah, how the rallies changed Chip's experience.
Well, because a lot of things people don't realize is you have a lot of time. You have all day. And you're going to these different towns where you don't know anybody. Pause that. This may be important. So you have a lot of time on your hands. So you're going to go sit in a town where everybody is going to work. Everybody is involved with their families, their homes, their normal lives. And you have all day to kill. I see a lot of retired people. I've been staying in places where there's retired people because I'm a snowbird. Mm-hmm. I used to be the youngest one there, but now I'm kind of growing into it. Mm-hmm. A lot of them people are miserable. Not all, by any means.
A snowbird is usually a retired person who lives up north in the summer, and then they go somewhere south in the winter, like Florida or something like that.
So how it changed it for Chip was he was getting burnt out. So people will sit in a town and there's nothing going on. You have all day, so you just sit around all day, and what are you going to do? Maybe you go hiking or whatever, but after a while you're just like, and so it gets totally old. You're like, this ain't what I thought it was. So he started coming to the rallies, and then he learned how to work the rallies. Now he's got all these friends here at the camp, behind the scenes. You go to the different rallies, and these vendors, you see the same guys. People you already know. You already have old friends there. There's a lot of things going on. There's drag races. There's bands, you can get parts for your bike. So it changed it for him by giving him a purpose. That's what I think, right? you got no purpose. It's another thing, people become purposeless. For me, it's not that hard because I like to write, and now I'm making videos, and so I come to town, find myself a place to stay. I get up in the morning, drink my coffee, hang out, turn the computer on, work. I like the gyms. I go to the gym in the afternoon. I go out and socialize in the evenings. I have a routine already when I get to the town.
Mm-hmm.
I travel with a few other guys who've been out here a long time, and after a while, you get routines in the town. When you get to a town, you already have what you're going to do. Billy's is different than mine. I couldn't live with his. I traveled with this guy, Mike. He'd been living in a van a long time, but he bought a bike. We went on a trip. We went to Prescott, Arizona. As soon as we got there, he was gone, man. I'd catch up with him back at camp. He had things he did all day. And you get a routine going.
That's probably the best situation,
like this,
eh?
Going, okay, I'm in, Colorado Springs, or what am I going to do now? You go sit in a coffee shop. What are you going to do? Lack of purpose is a problem for guys. It takes a while to work all that out. Once you get it all worked out, then it's an easy life. I'm always telling guys, Brenton, when they come out here, they're like, that want to come out here, I'm like, there's going to be a hard learning curve. And they give me that look. What are you talking about? I say, well, there's going to be these hard parts that you have to overcome. A lot of guys love to tell me, I'm not like you, Scotty. I like being alone. I'm like, try being completely alone all the time in different towns all over the place and see how...
Yeah.
No, I'm not like you. And then they end up coming out for a while and going home.
Yeah. Well, they don't realize how much of their how social they actually are when they're living a routine life.
Very few people are hermits.
Yeah.
So I tell them there's going to be this learning curve. You're going to run into these very real problems, and once you work those out, then you'll get to the part where it's easy. You can come with me, take some of my stuff, and then take some of somebody else's. Mostly you invent a lot of your own ways, and once you get that worked out, that's when it gets easy. Once you get these problems worked out. Loneliness is one of them.
You were going to talk about money for a second.
Oh, that's the first question everybody asks me. You're always interested in how much, what do you do about money?
Yeah. You're the only person I know when I ask you, how much do you live on in a month or a year, you say, you have no idea.
I don't have any idea. I don't keep track of that. The first thing is we just don't need as much money as everybody else. You work for your stuff. I work actually about a month a year. But the traveling to the different shows I work at takes up more time. The computer works more, but I don't usually get paid for that.
You must know that you don't spend more than this much money a month.
I don't think about it. When my money starts getting low, I start tightening up how I'm spending, and I look to get some more.
All right, but
First off, we don't need a lot of money.
Definitely put some cap on it. Let's say you don't spend more than $2,000 a month.
This is what I do. Wow, the money in my pocket's running low. I better tighten up my belt.
Well, I've
I
heard
haven't
you...
run out in a long time. I used to. There's an old saying that goes, do what you love to do because you truly love to do it, and the money will come.
Yeah.
I had really broke times in the beginning. There was a time I left with $500 from California going to Florida. Freaked out. I was just going to go on that philosophy and see what happened. Do what you love to do. God will take care of me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I traveled for 9 months, and I left California with $500. I got back with $550 that year.
That's amazing.
I got low. I got down to $50 a few times.
So
Yeah.
how did you get the money?
What I needed came.
How?
There's a bunch of stories involved in where the money came from. It's one of the ways I became a tire guy. That year is how I got the tire job. But it was one of the things I have an advantage on.
Well, you went and worked, right? That's how you made the
Yeah, I
money.
looked for work, but it doesn't. I did what was in front of me to do. I looked for it.
You cleaned windows also, right? You had you would...
There was a whole bunch of different things happened that year. That's when things changed for me. That year, things changed a lot. I was inspired by the Peace Pilgrim, the book I read about her. She traveled for 27 years on blind faith. She didn't even carry a jacket, no sleeping bag, no money.
The Peace Pilgrim.
She spoke on every radio station in the nation. People would fly her to Hawaii to speak at their college, and then she'd be huddled on a porch in Mississippi, somebody's porch, trying to get away from a storm, and it'd be poor people, and they'd take her in and feed her cornbread. So she inspired me to be able to do that, and she traveled on blind faith, and that's one of the things that I have an advantage is I'm not religious, but the majority of us have an idea that there's a God of some kind. So I go with that. Nor would I push that idea. thing is I'm going on faith that something's looking out after me. Like I have a guardian angel. And I've been on the road 24 years at this time without any visible means of support. And the things I need have come to me enough times to where there's a little bit of that philosophy has turned real. I can count on it. And I notice. And so anybody who travels a while will tell you, for any length of time, will tell you that things tend to come when they need them. I think most of us can look back through our lives and see that at some point we had a guardian angel, something looking out after us.
Yeah.
So the Peace Pilgrim traveled on that, I did too. That year when I left with $500, I looked up and I said, okay, man, you know my situation. I'm going to Florida from California. I don't have enough money to get back. And I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm all new at this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why things changed that year. I ended up in Canada. Somebody gave me a job in Canada. I'm not legal to work in Canada. I'm talking with some dude sitting somewhere, and it comes up I'm a roofer. He goes, I need my roof done. And I'm like, what? So I go and roofed his house. I didn't even know how to bid it. It's Canadian money. So things happened when I needed them. So a lot of guys, the majority, have to be their own God. They have to plan it out. It has to be safe. There's got to be security. It's got to be right. And it makes it harder. That makes it harder when you got to be your own God. There's a lot more planning, a lot more work, a lot more money.
Yeah.
But this is just walk off and see what happens. Or just hang your ass out there and see what happens. And I've got some pretty good proof that it works.
Relinquishing control. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. To some extent, yeah. Just go and see what happens. When I break down, I have a tendency to be like, okay, we'll see what's going to happen next. I've had shit come out of the blue. And I lost my starter out in Crowheart, Wyoming, and I could not get the bike started there. And you know, it's a whole story, but it turns out little town, there's no town there, it's just a couple of buildings, a little store, and
I call those white spots on the road.
Yeah, and they had a church. I'm talking to the guy over here. I says, where am I going to sleep? He knew somebody. He knew a guy who rides, this is Betsy's, my old bike. It had a shovel head starter in it, a Hitachi. It wasn't even modern. It's old stuff. It's hard to get them starters. I needed a starter, man. And he knows a guy who likes FXRs, which takes the same starter as mine, who doesn't like starters. He always takes them off, puts on a kickstart, who lives way out there. And the guy called him up. The guy had my damn starter. He couldn't bring it to me till the next day. So they told me to sleep in the church. I says, you're kidding. There's a church. I look, there's a little church. He goes, yeah, down the road there. I says, sleep in the church? He says, yeah, door's open. He says, they leave blankets in there in case somebody needs to sleep in there. Every time I go through Crowheart now, I stay a night in that damn church.
Really? To this day, the church is still open.
I was in it last year. I stayed a night coming through there with Sandy. We stayed a night in that little church. Well, we're respectful of it, obviously, but we just, put our sleeping bags in there.
We should do some naked photos in there, Scotty.
Well, yeah, that time when I was in there in the morning, I was changing from my pajamas into my pants. I realized I'm naked in the church. Yes, and I was with Laura. I said, Laura, get a picture of this. I've never been naked in church. In the middle of it, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm naked in a church. Because get a picture of this. I was changing clothes, man. I was getting dressed.
Well, we are all naked in front of the Lord anyway.
There's a lot of truth to that, for sure.
It was just fun. That was fun. Yeah, and the guy brought my starter, and I put it in. I've got so many stories like that, the breakdown stories, but that don't mean that the road's all smooth. It gets rocky, but... So anyways, I have that advantage. On a lot of guys who, fear is the main obstacle is fear. The main obstacle is fear.
Fear of the unknown is the root of all fear. Is that what you said earlier?
I read that the unknown is the cause of all fear. So whenever I go to do something new, I've always got to freak out. I've got to be freaked out.
Someone told me once, it always stuck with me, that fear and excitement are the same physiological reactions in the body.
I don't know about that.
No, look it up. The only thing it's your reaction to it.
I heard that.
Excitement and fear, same thing.
It could be.
It's a matter of like when you're scared, to tell yourself that you're not really scared, you're actually excited. And it can do some things for you.
Yeah, just depends on your attitude.
Guys,
but also some people say that courage and stupidity are very
similar. I'll have to think about that one too.
Guys get a hold of me periodically these days, and they want to hit the road, and I get guys asking me, well, what should I take? What do I need to take? and I always tell them the same thing. I said, get everything you think you're going to need, bungee cord it on your bike, pick your balls up, set them on the seat, and hit the gas. Because the main obstacle is in the mind. 80% of the problem is probably in the mind. The actual doing of it is far less. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know if I told you, when I used to leave San Diego, I started by taking 10-day trips over into Arizona because I could, because I had time. And once I simplified my possessions down to, you know, almost nothing, minimalist anyway, I had time. And I would say to myself, I'm going to go over into I'm going to ride over in Arizona for a while. And I'd be like, I'm going to leave in 2 weeks. And that was fine. But as the time grew closer, that little demon, fear, I've dealt with him a lot. To deny his existence is to forfeit the battle and lose, because he's a formidable foe. And so as the time grew closer, he would start talking, and he always talks to me in my own voice. And the first thing that little bastard uses against me is the weapon of deceit. I'd say, okay, I'm going to leave in 2 weeks, and as the time got closer, he'd start saying stuff like, maybe you shouldn't go. Maybe you don't have enough money. Your motorcycle might break down. Here's one of his favorites. You know, it isn't the responsible thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like going out to enjoy my life isn't one of the most responsible fucking things I can do with it. Right? Here's another one of his favorites. You know you're not going to have a good time anyway. Like, he's already been there and done that. You know, it isn't the responsible things. You have important things to be doing here at home.
Yep.
It's all a bunch of lies. How many times have you wanted to go on a trip, guys are going to come with you, and they all start backing out at the last minute? Who beat them?
Yep.
Who beat them? So what I would do, this little demon, this little guy, he slowed me down. He even beat me a couple times where I didn't go. And this was not acceptable. I began to realize what was happening. So what I would do is I would make the date, and as the time grew closer, he'd start babbling. And then I would tell him, I'd say, shut up, please, because now I realize who I'm dealing with. It's deceit. Shut up, please, but talk if you must. Either way, the decision was made 2 weeks ago. It is no longer yours and mine. Come this date, we're leaving. And sometimes I'd leave with my knees tight against my gas tank, freaking out. Dude, I'm going over the mountains to Arizona. It's a couple 100 miles away. Hello, it's not a big deal. And I'd be freaking out, man. 3 hours out, I'd start to relax. 3 days later, I'm like, this is great. Why don't I do this more often? It's what stops people from staying in camps on the side of the road. It's the same guy. That guy governs motherfucking life, man. And I couldn't deal with it. So now, but once the unknown becomes the known, because he's fear. As I'd leave, when I'd leave, he'd show his true colors. He'd turn to terror. All the bullshit would end, and he'd turn to pure terror. Okay, but once the unknown becomes a known, I'm not afraid of it anymore.
Yep.
Going on a trip now is nothing for me. I get on the bike, split. If we were going to sleep somewhere, I'd be like, well, it looks like a good place. Let's go. I'd set up and be like, let's see what happens.
Yep. You know, it reminds me of, I don't know who the author is, but there was a book called Where the Sidewalk Ends. Do you know that one?
No.
Well, it's a great kind of a classic, and he used to say the what ifs will crawl into your ears. And he said, you know, and then like he's also as an artist, and you tip your head sideways and you dump out all the what ifs.
Sounds like the same little demon.
That's what you remind me of what you were saying. Reminds me of that.
To deny him, I've known guys to deny him. Oh no, what are you afraid of? Oh no. Most of these guys, the majority of them, are guys who have not stepped out of their comfort zone in so long that they don't, you know what I mean? They don't even know anymore. They've just stayed in the familiar.
Yeah.
Right. And so, to deny this demon is to forfeit the game. Because in the battle with him, there's no middle of the road. One of us is going to win, and the other one's going to lose. And he's going to come out swinging, man. He ain't screwing around.
Well, his true colors turn into terror. That says a lot, too.
That's what he does.
It's a Hail Mary to try to get you to conquer you.
People on my Facebook all the time, they're always telling me, be safe. You guys ever heard that?
Yeah.
Be safe?
Yep.
I'm going to tell you what that really translates to. If you pay attention, you'll see it translates to be scared. Be scared.
It's kind of like good luck. A lot of times good luck means the opposite. When
You think so?
I think so. When some people say, well, good luck, it depends on how they say it, but yeah.
Sometimes I guess it kind of does. Anyways, that's my testimony. That's been my experience with it.
Yeah.
How many of us are stopped from the things we'd really like to do in life by that demon?
Yep.
You know?